1, 2, 3. Works. Well, good morning, everyone. First, some quick housekeeping rules. If you need a headset, there will be live translation in French and English. There's only one channel, so it's fairly simple. If you need one of the headsets, please take it, and it will be live translation throughout. So whenever I'm speaking in English, they will speak in French, and the other way around. So please don't hesitate to use it. Now, today is a beautiful day in Monaco. The sunshine is back, finally. Of course, it's for this beautiful event. I'm Lorelai Picot. I'm the Executive Director of the Ocean and Climate Platform, one of the four organizers actually, of today's event, as you can see on the slide behind me. I'm actually quite excited to be here today because we kickstarted this conversation in Monaco about 2 years ago with our friends from the Stimson Center, and we're really excited to be able to continue this whole conversation about how we can fast-track adaptation to rising sea levels. Since then, we have been joined by some new friends with Entreprises pour l'environnement and the UN Global Compact to include more private sector as well in this conversation today. So as you know, of course, our coastlines are rapidly changing under the impacts and the influence of climate change. Sea level rise could exceed 1 meter by the end of this century only, threatening coastal communities worldwide. That actually represents over 1 billion people living less than 10 meters above sea level. Sea level rise is a coastline issue, it's an environmental issue, it's an economic issue, it's a people issue. So it's all of our problems, basically. Of course, as the Ocean and Climate Platform, we work heavily on reducing greenhouse gas emission. We have a very hard line on mitigation, but let's not kid ourselves, the impacts of sea level rise are here to stay. How do we anticipate instead of reacting systematically? So we need to make sure that to limit the extent of the damage, we need to develop pathways that are rooted in scientific evidence, in local knowledges, but they also respond to the imperatives of economic, social, environmental, and equity all around the globe. It's actually everything that constitutes our coastlines that are at threat right now, from our homes to our infrastructures, our livelihoods, our vibrant economic hubs. So it's all of us that need to be implicated in building the solutions and taking immediate action. It's also why the Ocean and Climate Platform launched about 3 years ago the CITES project, pun intended. Us, the ocean community, we love the puns. Let's dive in, right? So we launched this project to make sure that we could establish this dialogue. We could actually have some concrete discussions with more than 250 stakeholders in the last 3 years. We've organized 5 regional workshops across the world to make sure that we could really understand the specificities of each region. There's no one-size-fits-all solutions. Each regions of the world is different. How do we not only respect, understand this diversity, but also make sure that we can connect across the world? The ocean does not divide us, or it actually connects us. So how do we make sure that we can share those good practices? We have also published some policy recommendations to make sure that there's a set of guidelines and real tools based on science, on finance, on solutions, and on social justice that can be circulated with the rest of the stakeholder on the ground, but also at the political level. We work with the United Nations, with a number of our partners here today yet again, to ensure that at the highest level of decision-making, sea level rise becomes very, very high on the agenda. But with all of this collaborative work, it's actually the first time that we have this conversation more in depth with the private sector, with people that are genuinely working on construction, on the energy sector. So it's an absolute pleasure to be here today and to be kickstarting this conversation with you all. You've heard enough from me. We want to. That's still me. So we want to start this conversation as well with, you know, the issue of sea level rise is definitely a growing issue, and next year, not very far from here, the French government together with Costa Rica will be co-hosting the 3rd UN Ocean Conference. I'm sure that those of you who have been here for about 3 days have heard lots about UNOC. The deputy envoy from the French president, they have such complicated titles, seriously. The person in charge of global affairs for the French government was supposed to be here today, unfortunately pressing matters in Paris. he had to go home, but I just wanted to share some very exciting news, is that as part of the announcements of the coalitions that will be launched in Nice, all the work that we have been doing together for 3 to 4 years will be part of a coalition of cities across the world, the Ocean Rise and Resilience Coalition. We're aiming for 400 mayors to come to Nice. We're aiming to represent 1 billion people across the globe. And this will actually be co-chaired or chaired at the moment by the mayor-president of Nice, who sends his regard as well, but has had the kindness of sending us one of his special counselors, the wonderful Ohaso, who's here with us from Nice. So it's been a very long journey. So please, Ohar, can you come and join us and share your thoughts? You've been a wonderful partner for 2 years, so thank you very much.
Thank you. I have to tell with my heart that I was in the One Ocean Summit in Brest with Lorelai already, and this first cities forum was the launch. It was very good, and now we are following the story with the international events, let's say. And I would like to say that I'm here on behalf of Christian Estrosi, the mayor of the Metropolis Nice-Côte d'Azur. And it's very important for him to answer the request of our President Emmanuel Macron to keep on going with this launch of Cities Forum that I mentioned in Brest, because the coastal towns and region are the keystone to do something. And municipalities are also very important, because we can gather the private sector, the citizens, and all the decision makers and the scientific community all together in one hand. And the coastal region, as Lorelai mentioned, are the keystone to do something and to observe, to examine the global warming. And it's coming high. You know, all of you, the numbers. And I would like just to give you a very local and special testimony in short terms. I am a project officer of creating an MPA in Nice. And marine protected area, they cannot change the global warming, but they can be the eyes of the global warming, and they can observe all the modification, all with dealing with the biodiversity, of course, but also with the infrastructure of the towns, and they are eyes. And I do think that MPA in coastal towns and regions are really important for this coastal coalition. And to end my little talk, I would say that the special event before the UNOC that we are in charge to organize, so remember it's Ocean 11 and Resilience Coalition Summit. It would be very important to be something new and to create this coalition, and you're part of it with the private sector. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And yeah, thank you to your support and the support of the City of Nice in reaching our global goals and really putting sea level rise on the map. So before we move forward, I also want to call on my friend and colleague David Laurent to speak about Entreprises pour l'environnement. You're one of the co-hosts for this great event, so please share your wisdom with us.
Thank you, Lorelai, and first of all, thank you for the invitation. So we are very, very happy to be invited by the Ocean and Climate Platform, because let's say you started with the idea of this event, and with the idea of bringing also this dialogue between private sectors and public sector on this very needed area. So at EPE, we are a French business network gathering roughly 60 of the largest French companies, and our work of area is mainly to work on emerging topics in the field of environment, of the ecological transition, and to identify companies which have the best practices and to share it. So it's basically what we're going to do today. So to contribute to set the scene for this very promising panel, I'm going to share a few challenges regarding sea level rise and the private sectors. Last month, we issued this report. It's a report on adaptation on business, and made with the French Agency for the Ecological Transition, so ADEME, and it was based on 30 case studies coming from companies. So I'm not going to give answer. I will focus on challenges, and the panel will provide some element of answer. And the first lesson was actually very clear, unfortunately, is that the level of maturity that we currently have on adaptation is quite low and very much lower than what we have on climate mitigation. And there are reasons for that. We don't have clear trajectory regarding what is an adaptation plan, in contrary to what when we speak about mitigation and emission reduction. And there are reasons. It's because adaptation is very local specific. It's also driven by data, so we need them. And currently, we have a lack of knowledge, but also a lack of incentive in terms of regulation, for example. So there is hope. For example, the CSRD, the Corporate Sustainability Reporting Directive, which will come in force so next year, will actually make mandatory for company to disclose the financial amount of assets which are actually at risk due to climate change. So it will help this, and it's going to be an incentive. Because currently, actually, unfortunately, what's happened is that many companies start to think about their adaptation journey from the very first day they are hit by climate events. Second learning was actually specific to sea level rise. So I have a deep look at this report, having sea level rise in mind, and it was actually little or even almost not mentioned in this report. And it was actually kind of discrepancies because it was clear on the other hand that water is clearly the top one priority for company when we look at climate adaptation. And yeah, it's a bit of a kind of paradox because sea level rise might actually lower the quantity of water available in coastal areas. So there are still some challenge to solve there. And it also make us thinking about, okay, why is there a lower level of attention for sea level rise? Is it because it's too far? Is it because it's too late? Is it because the level of magnitude of the answer are actually very impactful or have to be solved at a strategic level? So plenty of questions were raised. And my last point will be the relations between companies and the territory they operate. Because even if it was very clear that at the action level there were plenty of collaboration, at the strategic level in terms of risk assessment, the level of collaboration was lower. And it's a bit, again, a paradox because plenty of companies will first have a risk assessment which focus at the site level, and they will less take into consideration what is at the level of the area they operate. I mean, the relationship with their suppliers, the relationship with the energy or water providers. And they cannot be adapt alone. I mean, they need all actors need to have the ecosystem also adapt. It doesn't make sense to be adapt on its own. And as a conclusion, there was also some leading practices which have been identified, and I am thinking about so La Poste or Michelin, the tire manufacturer, and they will start from 2024 to actually have a site, let's say a territory-wide risk assessment, and they will discuss with cities representatives, so where they have operation, to discuss about their own adaptation plan in order to be sure that their operation will be safe. So it always also raised a number of questions, for companies, but also for cities. Being able to answer to company requirements regarding adaptation will not be something which will come in a minute. So that's why public and private dialogue is needed on this very topic. And so I am very happy to have this roundtable today on this topic. So thank you all of you, and have a nice discussion.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, David. And it's great to see that there's progress, and it's really important that we have this conversation across stakeholders, with cities, with NGOs, civil society, businesses, and of course the government. So it's time to dive in and to have a real conversation about your good practices and what really happens in your line of work. So it's my pleasure to hand over to the wonderful Eric Yersky from the UN Global Compact. You will be leading the first roundtable. Then Sally Yozo from the Stimson Center, you will be leading the second roundtable. So you're in very good hands. Enjoy. There will be time for Q&A. Maybe last housekeeping, last chance to get the headsets. Some speakers will be speaking in English, others in French. If you're not fluent, let us know. We can provide the translation just to make sure. Thank you very much. Eric?
Thank you, Lorelai, and good morning, everyone here. Thank you for coming. This is an extremely important topic. And I would like to pick up where David Laurent just left off, because more and more companies are asking the cities and their governments to do more. And that's really the role of the UN Global Compact. I work for the UN Global Compact in New York. It's a special initiative of the Secretary General of the UN. And it was established in 2000 by 40 companies. Now we are 25,000 companies committed to the UNGC. It's not because we are super good at recruiting and PR. We are not. We are shitty at PR. But we are representing a collaboration of trying to find solutions for non-state actors and governments and the UN to work together. How can companies deliver on the 17 SDGs? In China alone, the last 2 years, 900 companies signed up. From the largest shipping companies to solar manufacturers and so forth. Because they want to know what will be their risk and responsibilities when it comes to climate, to nature, to social and good governance. It's super important because their investors are asking them, their clients, their customers are asking them, what are you doing on these issues? Their employees are asking them, but also the managers themselves want to be part of the solution. Nobody wants to be part of somebody who pollutes a river, have child labor in their workforce, and so forth. And it's of course complex, as we just heard, and especially for cities and small and medium companies to be the solution. So our job is really to try to find good ways of monitoring and reporting and setting roadmaps together with organizations like we have here today, and first and foremost together with companies that are really operating and driving these innovations and investing in new innovations. So to discuss about sea level rise, we have a fantastic panel. We have Burcu Kambal from Kusadasi municipality in Turkey. So if you will find your seats up here. We have Laurent Noche, Managing Director of the Civil Engineering Division in France of the Vinci Construction Company. And we have Matthew Kaiser, Deputy Mayor of Biarritz in France. Very good panel, so please give them a hand. Yes, that's fine. And before we dive into the discussion, I would like to share some news, because we have some records to share. Multiple records set collectively. And the World Meteorological Organization, the WMO, released them yesterday. And we don't have to be proud of these records at all. And I'll just read the press release that came out yesterday. The State of Global Climate Report confirms that 2023 as the hottest year on record by clear margin. And records were also broken for ocean heat, sea level rise, Antarctica sea ice loss, and glacier retreats. So the last 20 years, only in Norway, where I'm from, we have lost 20 glaciers. The sea level temperature rise was up to 3 degrees last year. Not as in the atmosphere 1.5, which we also experienced many times last year, but 3 degrees. And as we know, the ocean is a basin for holding this heat for decades. So we're going to have some serious challenges. And this affects small and large companies and cities that have been thriving by the sea for centuries. So maybe I can ask you here from Turkey, from a medium-sized city, but with ancient historical sites, very attractive for tourism, but also for the people living there. What are the main challenges that you are facing going forward?
Merhaba, bonjour, esteemed mayors, dear colleagues and dear participants. Welcome again. This is Burcu. I'm coming from Turkey, and this is a big honor for me to be here together with you because the climate change and sea level rise is a very important issue for us. My city, Kuşadası, is on the coast of Aegean Sea in the Mediterranean basin. Our official population, 135,000 people normally. But in summertime, only one day, we are hosting 1,500,000 people because we have cruise harbor. The touristic activities in Turkey first started in my city, Kuşadası. So, together with our cruise harbor, with our hotels, with our diving centers, and the other touristic facilities, we are trying to improve our capacity and manage all the details together with my municipality. But this is not enough. Last year, we signed the paper, Convened of Mayors, together with the European Union. And this year, before 2 months, we became a member of European Union for Energy Transition. These are very important issues because we are very small cities and we are trying to do something. We are not waiting. We are trying to grow our capacity. We are trying to expand our region. We are trying to get new networks to do something in my cities because seawater have started to mix into treatment water. What it means? Agriculture sector is under danger. And we have cultural heritage, lots of archaeological sites, lots of ancient cities in our city in coastal areas. And we have marine areas, we have biodiversity, and all of these issues under attack, under danger. And in Turkey, for the governmental policy, we established a Ministry of Climate Change. And after 1 year later, we established in every municipality climate change department. But what we are doing? Nothing. Because our challenges, lack of capacity, lack of knowledge about scientific, technological, and the financial. So we have to improve the awareness of not only our staff, not only our municipal capacity. At the same time, we have to improve the awareness of citizens. I'm trying to manage 5 different European Union projects to improve educational programs for the youngers, for the women, to improve their capacity. Because lots of people are waiting in Turkey, local services from the local municipalities. But the importance of the sustainable development goals, importance of climate change, importance of sea level rise, we have to tell the people, we have to go to each home directly. And my last sentences, climate change does not respect your border, does not respect who you are, big or small, poor or rich. So we have to share together. We have to share each other. We have to improve our capacity. So I'm here. This is a big chance to be here because your experiences and your knowledge and your techniques will open new vision in my country, in my city. Thank you so much. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you, Burcu. Maybe I can just follow up quickly because I think this is a challenge. you're not the only city in the Mediterranean or the world facing this, and it's of course going to be costly. You need competence and capacity to address this. But still, do you think there's any opportunities in this if we address it in the right way?
Yes, we have opportunities because the city has got very different experiences about tourism. So lots of people are visiting us and started to ask directly, what are you doing for climate change? And this opportunity will support my decision maker to take care about the global warming. And these networks, these events, and our vision about and our cooperation together with the European Union, our opportunities, if I compare my municipality with the others municipality in Turkey. I can say we are important actor for this field.
Fantastic, very interesting. I'll get back to you later. So maybe I can go to you, Matthew Kaiser, Deputy Mayor of Biarritz in France. Listening here to Buru, are you feeling the same pressure from your citizens and people visiting the town that you should do more, or what is your? How do you see this sea level rise and the whole challenge of sustainable ocean management in Biarritz?
Bonjour à tous. I may speak in French because I'm more fluent with the glass of wine. Bonjour à tous, donc je suis Mathieu Kayser et adjoint à la mairie de Biarritz pour l'environnement. Je participe aussi à un fonds d'investissement à impact bleu qui s'appelle Blue Forward Fund, donc je connais bien le côté privé et le côté public. L'idée, à Biarritz en tout cas, on essaye de, comme l'a dit notre collègue de Turquie, c'est de pouvoir trouver le plus grand réseau possible de villes qui, effectivement, comme le font Cities et Ocean and Climate Platform, pour trouver des solutions ensemble. On a évidemment une énorme pression de la part de nos citoyens et des visiteurs de la ville. C'est extrêmement important aujourd'hui de répondre à ces attentes pour nous-mêmes et pour les gens qui veulent continuer à venir visiter la ville. On a d'énormes enjeux de bâtiments municipaux qui sont en première ligne, de bâtiments prestigieux qui sont aussi en première ligne. Je pense notamment à l'hôtel du Palais, qui est donc un palace 5 étoiles qui est les pieds dans l'eau, donc qui va l'être vraisemblablement avec les années qui viennent de plus en plus les pieds dans l'eau. Ce sera imprenable comme vue. L'idée voilà, est de pouvoir participer. Nous, on a choisi une stratégie du trait de côte qu'on a choisi d'être forte, vu qu'on a des enjeux extrêmement importants en termes de bâtiments. C'est-à-dire qu'en fait, on a choisi de combattre la montée de l'eau par des ouvrages durs, alors beaucoup de béton évidemment, et j'en suis le premier désolé. Y compris sur des éléments naturels tels que la côte des Basques, donc qui est normalement une côte sauvage d'une des plus belles plages de France. Je suis très chauvin, pardon. Et voilà, donc on a choisi malgré tout de bétonner et de renforcer cette falaise. On a d'énormes enjeux qui sont juste au-dessus, donc à 100 mètres au-dessus du niveau de la mer, certes, mais l'effondrement et la pression des vagues sur cette côte est extrêmement forte. C'est un choix que Biarritz a fait. Voilà, ça fait longtemps que ces décisions ont été prises. Il y a une autre ville qui est la ville d'à côté qui s'appelle Bidar et donc qui a choisi une stratégie totalement opposée, c'est-à-dire de laisser la côte faire, et donc l'avancée naturelle de l'océan sera laissée. Si les maisons tombent, elles tomberont. Si certains de leurs infrastructures sont dégradées, voilà, ils laissent l'océan rentrer et en tout cas la nature faire son travail. C'est un choix qu'on a fait à Biarritz. On a certains enjeux très ponctuels sur la ville. On y répond aujourd'hui de cette manière-là. Est-ce que dans 100 ans on aura eu raison ou pas? C'est une bonne question. Et voilà, on a attendu aujourd'hui pour en termes de ville un balnéaire assez connu, avec une aura en tout cas au moins nationale, si ce n'est internationale pour certains, voilà, sur ces sujets-là, et c'est extrêmement important pour nous d'y répondre et de créer aujourd'hui des consortiums avec d'autres villes. Alors on s'est associé avec Santa Cruz. Désolé pour le maire de Monterrey qui est ici, mais on s'est associé avec Santa Cruz pour voilà, discuter de ces sujets-là. Ils ont été frappés l'année dernière par d'énormes événements climatiques qui ont détruit toute une partie de leur route. On va y arriver nous aussi d'une manière ou d'une autre. On cherche aujourd'hui des solutions techniques, des solutions de communication, des solutions d'accueil, voilà, qui sont, et même de réponse à l'urgence, ou en tout cas à ces tempêtes quand elles arrivent, d'organisation purement logistique. Donc voilà, on discute de beaucoup de choses avec plein de villes, notamment Salvador de Bahia, et ça c'est grâce à donc, Waves of Change Forum, qui est une association qui œuvre chez nous à Biarritz. On tisse ce réseau-là. On a aussi, grâce à Cities, créé ces réseaux, et on essaye de participer avec le maximum de villes pour échanger les bonnes pratiques.
Excellent, super, very interesting, very good translation. For those who speak both languages, I'm sure you enjoyed it.
Pardon pour les expressions françaises.
If you take the French perspective, Biarritz is clearly doing something. Researching a bit about Biarritz, it's a beautiful hotel, and we would hate to see it get swallowed by the sea. But do you think there is enough capacity for all cities in France that they can bear this burden on their own? I mean, the cost of this, the competence, the long-term infrastructure built is overwhelming, isn't it?
Alors, j'espère qu'il n'y a pas trop de représentants de l'État. On a aujourd'hui la responsabilité, donc on est en train de travailler sur la stratégie du trait de côte avec le devoir aujourd'hui de prendre à bras le corps ces problématiques de retrait du trait de côte. C'est nous qui en avons la responsabilité, mais on n'en a clairement pas les moyens, dans le sens où Biarritz est une ville de 25 000 habitants. On reçoit 100 000 habitants de plus pendant les saisons, qui maintenant s'étalent de plus en plus sur le temps. La vraie problématique qu'on a aujourd'hui, c'est qu'on en a les compétences, mais on n'en a pas les moyens. C'est le cas, vu qu'on fait partie de l'Association nationale des élus du littoral français, donc Dom-Tom et France métropolitaine incluse. C'est le cas pour toutes les villes de France et du territoire français avec les Dom-Tom. Tout le monde se pose la question de savoir comment est-ce qu'on va faire pour payer. Ayant aussi été dans les assurances jusqu'à il n'y a pas très longtemps, tout le monde va se rétracter de cette couverture assurantielle. On a un vrai souci sur ce sujet-là, et voilà, on est confronté aujourd'hui, on sait ce qui nous attend, on sait où on va, mais on ne sait pas comment on va payer ou comment on va faire pour le contrer. On a d'énormes enjeux, comme je vous l'ai dit, sur le côté bâtiment prestigieux sur Biarritz. D'autres ont des côtes naturelles à défendre. C'est un vrai sujet. Et je n'ai pas de réponse.
Absolutely. Some very important points, and I don't know if we will hear from US or other, because we know that more and more places around the world, like in Florida and the west coast of the US, it's really hard to get house insurance. And this is spreading throughout the world, the cost of this. And I think that's a good segue to you, Laurent Norge, from Vinci Construction, because you have all the solutions. It's not free solutions, of course, but the technical solution is, and this is very important because we also have good solutions for green energy, but it takes so long time to get there, to enable it. And what's your perspective on sea level rise and the whole resilience of coastal communities? So you have some slides as well, so you will run us through some of the critical things that you're doing at Da Vinci.
Thank you. I want to speak in French. It's better for me. Merci à tous. Alors, j'ai voulu un petit peu illustrer ce que vous venez de dire par une situation assez connue en France. C'est à Soulac-sur-Mer. C'est un immeuble qui a été construit dans les années 80, qui a été construit sur une zone qui aujourd'hui a été rattrapée par la montée des eaux. Et 40 ans après, on est obligé de détruire ce bâtiment. Donc on est clairement dans le sujet, et aujourd'hui il y a un vrai problème d'acceptabilité, puisque les gens qui avaient acheté là se retrouvent plus ou moins ruinés. Il y a des procédures judiciaires, et donc on est sur un véritable fiasco, et donc sur tout ce qu'il ne faut pas faire a priori pour la suite des choses. Alors, nous, Vinci Construction, on est clairement au cœur de cette transition climatique, puisqu'aujourd'hui, On réalise aussi bien des bâtiments que des infrastructures, que des travaux maritimes, que des routes, que des réseaux, et on conçoit des ouvrages qui doivent pouvoir permettre de résister au changement climatique. Notre difficulté, c'est effectivement, vous l'avez dit, le nerf de la guerre, c'est l'argent. Aujourd'hui, on a fait pas mal d'études, aussi bien. Alors, je vais plutôt me focaliser sur la partie française que je connais particulièrement bien. Aujourd'hui, la Fédération nationale des travaux publics a fait une étude que vous retrouvez là, avec Carbone 4, en 2022, qui chiffre à plus de 30 milliards les investissements à faire dans le cadre du changement climatique. Mais ce qui est frappant dans ces chiffrages, alors on voit que dans le monde, c'est des centaines de milliards au global. Ce qui est frappant, c'est que dans ces investissements-là, on parle beaucoup de changement climatique sur le bâti, etc. On parle très peu de la montée des océans. Et ça, c'est assez... on parle beaucoup... Alors, pourquoi on a essayé, nous, d'analyser parce qu'effectivement, aujourd'hui, on a également peu d'opérations dans ces eaux-là. Alors, pourquoi parce que pour nous, il y a plusieurs limites. C'est effectivement l'acceptation par les populations. Aujourd'hui, vous l'avez dit, vous avez pris par exemple le choix à Biarritz de protéger la côte et finalement de la bétonner quelque part. Et donc là aussi, il y a un débat, est-ce qu'il faut bétonner ou pas ? Nous, c'est notre premier problème, c'est que quand on arrive nous, on est soit concepteur, soit constructeur. Quand on arrive sur un projet, aujourd'hui, c'est des problèmes d'acceptabilité par la population. Et donc là, il y a un vrai débat de fond à avoir. Ensuite, c'est aujourd'hui beaucoup de retard pris dans les décisions des gens qui sont en capacité de décider sur lancer des travaux, protéger ou laisser tomber certaines zones. L'exemple que j'ai mis là, c'est à Cotonou, au Bénin, où il y a des zones qui ont été détruites, des habitations. On a eu en France, suite à la tempête Xynthia en Vendée en 2010, des zones qui ont été déclarées noires. Donc il y a eu à peu près 2000 logements qui ont été supprimés. Donc là aussi, problème d'acceptabilité des populations. Quand vous expliquez à quelqu'un qu'il perd sa maison et qu'il doit déménager, c'est toujours très, très difficile. Et puis nous, on est un petit peu frustrés parce qu'on a beaucoup de solutions techniques à proposer. Et dans le cadre aujourd'hui du code des marchés publics qui peut exister, notamment en France, mais dans d'autres pays, on est restreint sur les variantes qu'on peut proposer ou les solutions techniques. Donc voilà, c'est un frein pour nous aussi à des mesures d'adaptation. Alors j'ai pris juste un ou deux exemples de ce que l'on fait actuellement, pour vous donner aussi une échelle de temps par rapport à ce qui se passe sur un certain nombre de projets. Là, en l'occurrence, si ça veut bien fonctionner, on est au Canada, à côté de Calgary, et donc suite aux événements climatiques de 2013, donc des grosses inondations, on fait un immense réservoir naturel qui a démarré en 2023. Donc vous voyez, entre l'événement climatique qu'il y a eu et les travaux... il y a plus de 10 ans qui se passent, et donc là aussi je pense que vu l'accélération du changement climatique, et on aura la même problématique sur les océans, il faut peut-être trouver aussi un process beaucoup plus rapide pour répondre aux enjeux. Voilà, donc ça c'est au Canada, et ça va permettre justement d'éviter ce qui s'était passé en 2013 à Calgary. On a la même chose en France, on fait un énorme bassin réservoir dans le bassin parisien en fait pour réguler les crues de la Seine. Alors là aussi en préservant la biodiversité et l'environnement, puisqu'en fait on crée des bassins naturels. En fait, c'est des zones qui sont creusées, qui permettront de récolter les eaux supplémentaires lors des crues. Donc ça, c'est vraiment des éléments que l'on maîtrise et des solutions techniques que l'on peut proposer. Et je pense que dans la problématique de la montée des océans, on ne peut pas dissocier en fait le sujet inondation des terres lié au fleuve. Je dirais les deux sont liés, et donc les solutions techniques aussi qui doivent être conçues doivent tenir compte des deux solutions. Et puis dernier sujet pour nous, c'est aujourd'hui l'évolution des normes qui ne va pas assez vite, puisqu'aujourd'hui on continue à dimensionner des ouvrages avec des occurrences centennales, millénaires. Or ces occurrences, elles sont, par exemple, une crue centenaire, aujourd'hui on l'a tous les 10 ans. Donc on doit changer aussi notre mode de dimensionnement dans la capacité de faire nos infrastructures. Et là aussi, il y a beaucoup de retard dans l'évolution de la norme pour justement changer ça. Et pour nous, c'est un sujet de fond immédiat. Voilà.
Thank you, Laura. I totally agree with you. Extremely interesting cases here. I'm sure you enjoyed it as well. I think, as you say, we experienced this in the build-out of green energy. It's too slow. The regulations are too weak. They're not streamlined globally, so it's really hard to accelerate this capacity. And the same with adaptation. It's going too slow. The capacity is not there. The regulations are diverging too much. So do you work with like international consortium to press forward on better standards and regulations in this area?
Alors, on travaille au niveau international, mais moi je connais surtout le niveau français. Effectivement, on fait partie d'un certain nombre de commissions techniques sur lesquelles on travaille ces sujets-là. Mais je dirais que la difficulté, c'est que autant pour les inondations, les gens voient tout de suite, malheureusement, ce qui se passe. Et donc, je dirais qu'on a une réactivité qui est très importante. La différence avec la montée des eaux sur les océans, c'est que c'est à un horizon tellement lointain, ça ne touche pas encore forcément beaucoup les gens. Alors, il y a certaines zones touchées, là, tout de suite, c'est un accélérateur de solutions. Mais sur les zones... finalement, l'horizon 2100, c'est très loin pour les gens, ou l'horizon 2050. Et donc aujourd'hui, je pense que c'est un vrai problème. C'est qu'on gère l'urgence qui sont les inondations, puisque là on a... Mais pas aujourd'hui cette montée des eaux qui est inexorable et qui va avoir des vraies conséquences dans le futur.
Absolutely. Totally agree with you. We have room for one question in terms of time. Yes, please.
Thank you. I guess I'm addressing this to Kusadasi and Biarritz because it's about sustainable tourism. I'm supposed to be an expert in sustainable tourism. I've been working with an initiative called the Ocean Panel, which was actually an idea from John Kerry in the US, and it was an invitation to Norway to lead 17 countries right now. I just want to let you know about a report, a very comprehensive report, which is called Opportunities for Transforming Coastal and Marine Tourism. It's written by 15 of the top experts in sustainable tourism. It was launched a year and a half ago in Portugal at the Ocean Summit. We are at work very much so on coastal challenges. In the fjords of Norway, for instance, for Norway, but it's basically it applies to almost all some of the things that you mentioned, and specifically, you mentioned Kusadasi. Are you familiar with the UNESCO Marine Heritage work? Because that's part of this, and since I'm Norwegian. And I will just take up I'll use a word that Eric was just using, but that a lot of great work here, but a pretty shitty communication job on the part of this bill. This is worth reading. It's very good. We also have an excellent executive summary, which you can read in half an hour, and I think you will find it extremely helpful. A comment?
Thank you so much. Thank you. We are really interested in UNESCO, and we have lots of cultural heritage in Kuşadası. But as I said, like climate change, for the professional capacity, there is a lack of knowledge and technical roadmap. And to attend the platform, to be part of a platform international or in Europe, a little bit taking time for us. But your support and report for the data is so important because we are trying to work together with universities and NGOs to take real data for the area. So thank you so much.
Also, I think, which would be interesting is that I'm using a diplomatic word right now. We're trying to energize the big cruise business to have a more forward-looking view of sustainable tourism. We are actually closing in Norway 2 fjords to big cruise ships. So nice. That model is an interesting one for many of you. So.
Thank you very much. And a big hand for the. Oh, do you want to have a last comment?
I just hope.
Yeah, sure.
You brought 2 copies, but I'm really interested in this because we did a DID. It's a development. I forgot about it, but whatever. It's a way for the city to invest in, not invest, it's the wrong word, sorry, to transition to a more sustainable tourism too. Mm-hmm. So we are trying, and I'm really interested in what the report has to say.
Excellent. Very good. So reports can work. Thank you so much. A big hand for the panel, and I give the floor back to you, Lorelei. Thank you.
Thank you very much. This is the first very exciting panel. Thank you for all your good practices. I was actually in Biarritz this summer, and it's true. I mean, they have banned some of the parking stations because the coast is crumbling. So, so without further ado, let's dive into the second panel, and I will hand over to Sally from the Stimson Center to lead the way on this one. In the meantime, if we can call over all of our panelists to just join on stage with Tyler, the mayor of Montreux, please. Has a lot of pressure today. There we go. Frédéric, Aurélie, I would invite you to go on stage, and Sally.
Great. Thank you, Lorelei. And good morning, everybody. So great to see so many people out this morning. So my name is Sally Ozel, and I am the director of the Environmental Security Program at the Stimson Center. We have a very exciting panel here. But I want to absolutely thank Lorelei and all of our partners here, but particularly the Ocean and Climate Platform. We did come up with this idea several years ago, and it's great. And I also want to thank the Prince Albert II of Monaco Foundation for bringing all of this together for all of us to be here. So let's get on with it. Let me get up here. Everyone good? Okay. So let me first introduce our amazing group of panelists. We have the Honorable Tyler Williamson, who's the mayor of the city of Monterey, California. We are also, next we have Ms. Aurélie Ferrand-Senlot, the head of Property and Casualty Underwriting and Business Strategy for Climate and Sustainability for AXA Group. We also have with us Monsieur Frédéric Boussin, who is the regional delegate for the Provence-Alpes-Côte d'Azur, PACA, for Electricité de France, or EDF. So an amazing group, as you can see. We've also heard already today some statistics that I think really set the stage, but if I could just add a little more before we jump in with our panel. We know, obviously, sea level rise is accelerating. It's eroding the coastlines. It's creating high storm surge, saltwater intrusion, affecting croplands, as we just heard from our friend from Turkey. And even today, sea level rise, it seems small, matter of 4 or 5 millimeters a year, but the impacts are so big. 10 centimeters of sea level rise, and that's like the height of a cell phone. 10 centimeters of sea level rise can actually triple the frequency of coastal flooding. And so that means with these catastrophic floods that we all hear about, the 100-year flood, well, with that kind of sea level rise, it becomes every 33 years. And if we add another 10 centimeters, it becomes every 10 or 11 years. So this is really important for us to get a grip on. A recent study, which I know we'll hear more from our panelists, found that the magnitude of sea level rise could cost nearly $1 trillion worth of economic losses in just Europe alone. So being able to really assess place space, as we just heard, place space vulnerability in details is so important. And at the Stimson Center where I work, our center, we have this program called the Climate and Ocean Risk Vulnerability Initiative, or CORVI, much easier to say. And what we've done is we have 16 CORVIs around the world that really look and assess risks in the coastal communities where they face these issues. And if I could just give you 2 quick examples of why it's important. In Chattagram, Bangladesh, we found that groundwater extraction from industry and agriculture has led to significant land subsidence. They also have a lack of wastewater infrastructure. And this has caused trash to choke their drainage canals. And as a result, when the sea level rise comes in and you get storm surge, you get these major amounts of pollution that then end up in these stagnant pools that are really affecting the health of citizens in the city and seeping into homes and businesses, and it's really a problem of public works and infrastructure. Or just one other quick example, St. Kitts and Nevis, small island state, primary business is tourism, and they're right at the water's edge. New cruise ship terminals have been being built throughout the waterfront, and it's caused really serious coastal erosion. In addition, they have mountains when they have storms, big storms because of climate. Water floods down from the mountains. And when you have sea level rise, rising storm surge, and water coming down from the mountains, and they also have the lack of wastewater management, again clogging their drains. So you end up with significant flooding in the city that is upending the economy, the citizens, and the livelihoods. So these are just 2 examples I wanted to highlight because sea level rise, yes, significant risk by itself. But when you combine all these other risks of lack of waste management, expanded informal housing, decaying infrastructure, and loss of habitat, these risks really accelerate. And as we will hear today, no local government can solve this alone, no business can solve it alone, no company can solve it alone. So with that, I want to really get started. I have a question for everybody on the panel. I mean, we have a mayor, we have the head of the energy infrastructure in France, and we have the head of one of the largest insurance companies in the world. So my question to all of you is, how is sea level rise impacting your work? And can you tell us a little bit about what your organization is doing with your current plans to adapt to sea level rise? So why don't we, let's start with Orly, if we could. Yeah.
Hi, and thank you very much for having me here today. So, as an insurer, yes, we are directly impacted by natural catastrophe. And due to sea level rise combined with climate changes, coastal flooding and marine submersion will increase in intensity and in frequency. You've seen that in some part of the world, there is no more insurance. And our purpose at AXA is protect what matters. And we really want to be alive in 2030 and in 2050. So our goal is really to limit the risk of gap insurance due to the pace of climate change, including on coastal areas. As you said, the last report of climate assessment in Europe, climate risk assessment done by the Environmental European Agency, has shown that 1 trillion, the risk of flooding on coasts, will cost 1 trillion euro per year. So it's huge. And when we cover risk is a combination of hazards, vulnerability, and exposure. So hazards, we try to fight very much against climate change, of course, but it's really a long time horizon. So we must work on vulnerability and exposure. So at a very modest level, what we do at AXA is really, we want to work a lot, and we have started for a long time ago now, on prevention. Prevention is key. So we have, developed some tools to help our insured understand well those climate risks, both present and future, with different time horizon by 2030, by 2050. And the last tool called Altitude, developed by AXA Climate, has integrated the risk of sea level rise and marine submersion. For municipalities, we have developed also a platform called Commune en Action. Maybe some of you knows it. And especially, we wanted to help the small municipalities with less than 10,000 inhabitants, and the mayor and his team to really understand the risks to better planning their municipalities. So we need, a better land planning. So for us, this interrelationship between private and public is key. We need strong European policies, at least in Europe, based in France, from the EU and from the member states to preserve natural ecosystem on coastal areas. We believe very much in infrastructure, but also we think that it's very important to preserve the natural ecosystems. And we need also strong implementation on local level in planning. And just here again, La Cour des Comptes has released a report last week showing that today very, very few municipalities, coastal municipalities, have taken into account the sea level rise and the risk of flooding and submersion, marine submersion.
Oh, thank you so much. Okay, I wanted you to go first because I think it sets up for our mayor perfectly with learning from what you are doing. And now let's hear from Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, so I just want to start off by thanking you all for having me be a part of this session. This is a really wonderful opportunity, particularly for a representative from the United States. I mean, there's a lot of work to be done. Although I do come from the state of California, there's a need for continued collaboration. And when we look at communities that are out in front and being innovative, we need to make sure that we can continue to uplift those that are out front so that they can continue pushing the curve. So all that to say, my town, the city of Monterey, is a population of 30,000 people. Our largest industry on the Monterey Peninsula is hospitality. So we're very dependent on our hospitality industry with our hotels and restaurants. It's the second largest industry in our county, and it brings in about $3 billion in visitor spending annually. So we really depend upon that community being able to thrive. And I'll speak more to this later, but a lot of our business community is literally right on the coastline and is impacted directly by sea level rise. So how we address this is going to have to be a multifaceted approach. Just to describe the city of Monterey a little bit more, for those that are a little bit unfamiliar with it, we are known for Monterey Car Week, very relevant for Monaco. We also have, if you're a golfer, AT&T Pro-Am that's held annually in Pebble Beach. And then the Monterey Jazz Festival, to name a few. We are also the original capital of Alta California when it was under the control of both Spain and then later Mexico. The state constitution for California was drafted in Monterey. They were actually initially going to put the state capital in Monterey before it ending up in Sacramento. So there's a lot of history in Monterey. We have the first library, the first theater, Monterey Jack Cheese. So we have a lot of firsts in Monterey. There's a lot of history associated with our community. So not only are we looking at the assets as they deal with the business industry, but we're also looking at the historical assets that are just central to not just our city, but the state of California. But the biggest draw for our community, and if anybody has visited Monterey, I can't imagine that you came without going to the Monterey Bay Aquarium. And so if you know where that is, it's right on the coastline on Cannery Row. And in fact, they use salt water from the sea to help fill the tanks in the aquarium. And I would just argue here, I'm going to do a little bit of a plug, that it is the world's best aquarium. So if you haven't been, I encourage you to come visit us in Monterey. If you have already been, I encourage you to come back, and I imagine that you know why. I got into politics in a large way because of my activism in the community. And one of those ways was around environmental justice. And so you all may remember in 2017, somewhat in a reaction to Trump getting elected, there was the March on Washington, the March for Science. And one of the main goals was was for scientists to push for evidence-based policy initiatives as it relates to climate change. And so that was kind of my way right before I got elected in 2018 to the council. And so it's a huge thing in our community. And I just want to describe to you some of the organizations that are a part of efforts associated with climate change and impacts to our ocean. And I do this because it's important to draw a contrast of all the different types of communities that exist. We are fortunate in Monterey to have a very climate-friendly community. So I just kind of want to describe, outside of the Monterey Bay Aquarium, which is a leader in climate action, we also have the Monterey Bay National Marine Sanctuary, designated by our federal government, Citizens Climate Lobby, Communities for Sustainable Monterey County Ecology Action, the Monterey Bay Aquarium Research Institute, or often known as MBARI, Hopkins Marine Station, Stanford Center for Ocean Solutions. The Naval Postgraduate School is based in Monterey, California, and they have a huge oceanography program, so that brings a lot of defense funding into our community. We have California State University, Monterey Bay, so there's a lot of educational opportunities too. So if anybody is looking for an opportunity to engage further at an educational level, there's a lot of opportunities there. But all this to say that there is clearly a lot of support for environmental work in our community, and that links to our relationship with our business community. And as I was stating earlier, it's a dire situation. So 2 of our largest business communities in the city of Monterey are literally right on the coast. So I was describing earlier that Cannery Row, where the Monterey Bay Aquarium is located, is right on the coastline, and there's no really opportunity to move that back. It's pretty well developed. And then also Fisherman's Wharf, and just by its name alone, we can't, it's really hard to move the wharf as well. So how we look at these things is critically important. And for our community, it actually provides a really great opportunity for our collaboration with the business community. They want to be part of the solution, as opposed to maybe there being some resistance or being at loggerheads there. So I'm very thankful that we're all in this together. And then just kind of finding some space to wrap up my point here. In January of 2021, we did a report, and it mainly looked at transportation. So the most trafficked street in the city of Monterey is called Del Monte. It goes right along the coastline. On one side of it, as you're driving into our town, is a lake. We call it Lake El Estero. And then on the other side, you can see the ocean. With this study that we've done, looking at 100-year floods, we are expecting to see the lake connect with the ocean, and that basically cuts off that main hub as you drive into our town. We also have a tunnel that allows you to get to the other side of our city to Cannery Row. So these are under the sea level now, and how do we address these infrastructure needs is going to be critically important in developing collaboration, and I'll speak more to that later on. But we have 45 pieces of infrastructure right now that are going to be impacted by sea level rise in the city of Monterey. So this is critically important for us to address, and I look forward to continuing the conversation.
So that is a perfect setup for our next speaker, which is Frederic, who can talk about infrastructure and energy that we all rely on.
Merci Sally, bonjour à toutes et à tous. Si
vous le permettez, juste avant de répondre à votre question, je voudrais vous donner un petit clin d'œil régional. Nous sommes ici à Monaco et juste à côté d'une région célèbre. Et j'aurais un message pour vous toutes et tous ici présents. Ne nous appelez plus jamais PACA. Nous avons la chance, et près de nous, une capitale régionale bien connue comme la ville de Nice et sa métropole Nice-Côte d'Azur. Nous avons la chance d'avoir un nom de région qui comporte 3 marques mondiales, Provence, Alpes et Côte d'Azur. Et nous y tenons beaucoup, puisque c'est ce qui nous permet effectivement de continuer à développer notre notoriété. Nous n'avons pas d'aquarium, mais néanmoins, nous avons beaucoup d'atouts à produire effectivement et à proposer à nos visiteurs. Sur le sujet du jour, EDF est un opérateur industriel de long terme, une industrie très capitalistique, et nos équipements, si on parle de l'hydroélectricité, sont des équipements qui vivent plus d'1 siècle. Si on parle des centrales nucléaires, on sait qu'aujourd'hui, notre ambition est de les faire durer au moins 60 ans, peut-être plus. Les Américains savent le faire avec Westinghouse jusqu'à 80 ans. Et si je vous parle de ce temps long, c'est parce que ça nous permet d'avoir de la connaissance, à la fois par notre pratique, donc pour mieux adapter l'existant, et aussi et surtout pour mieux concevoir le nouveau. Notre activité peut se traduire sur 3 temps. Son histoire, et sans doute notre histoire commence du point de vue de l'adaptation au changement climatique sur le rapport du GIEC, puisque dès 1990, avec l'émission du premier rapport, EDF a engagé un programme important de R&D autour du changement climatique et de ses effets. Plus récemment, en 2014, nous avons créé un service climatique, qui se trouve à l'interface entre le monde académique, les services climatiques officiels, nationaux ou internationaux, et nos actifs industriels. Ce service climatique, il a pour vocation à comprendre les impacts sur plusieurs dimensions, l'élévation de la température, l'élévation de la montée des eaux, la nature des aquifères côtiers et leurs évolutions, et pour terminer, la biodiversité marine. Derrière cette connaissance, derrière cette compréhension au travers des 4 leviers que je viens de vous citer, ça nous permet aussi d'aller plus loin et de comprendre les récurrences autour des canicules et bien sûr des événements extrêmes. Alors, ça c'est hier. Le présent aujourd'hui, je ne cache pas qu'il est compliqué puisqu'on essaye de mobiliser nos acteurs internes autour de plans d'adaptation au changement climatique pour l'ensemble de nos entités industrielles. Et c'est un sujet qu'il faut savoir coordonner entre l'exploitation, qui par définition est un temps court et une nécessité immédiate, et la préparation de l'avenir, dans la façon mentale d'appréhender cette dualité temporelle, ce n'est pas toujours très simple. Et puis, pour la préparation de l'avenir, nous avons décidé, il y a maintenant plusieurs années, au périmètre d'une direction très importante chez nous, qui est la direction de la production nucléaire et thermique, en clair, l'ensemble du parc électrique en exploitation en France, nous avons décidé de lancer un grand projet qui s'appelle ADAPT. L'acronyme veut tout simplement dire adaptation. Et ce projet ADAPT, il comporte, il présente une finalité, c'est bien sûr celle de construire une démarche qui se veut évolutive, parce que rempli d'aucune certitude, il est important d'apprendre au fil de l'eau, mais aussi et surtout une démarche systémique pour nous permettre effectivement de mieux anticiper les conséquences du dérèglement climatique, et ce dans une logique collective, et je vais y revenir dans un instant. Cette démarche ADAPT, elle a 3 axes. 1, j'ai besoin de comprendre le dérèglement climatique, ses effets physiques, et bien sûr en intégrant, je l'ai dit, je le répète, son caractère systémique dans l'univers dans lequel nos outils de production sont placés. Et comprendre pourquoi, pour imaginer le futur des territoires. Pas simplement de nos outils, des territoires. Le deuxième axe, c'est celui qui consiste à évaluer et donc à diagnostiquer. C'est de comprendre les effets sur nos implantations, les effets du dérèglement climatique sur nos implantations et sur l'ensemble de leurs écosystèmes territoriaux. Et le troisième axe, vous le comprendrez assez facilement, c'est la question de la mobilisation et de l'action. Mobiliser les acteurs internes et territoriaux, et puis d'agir, puisque ça a été dit par beaucoup d'orateurs précédents, l'action coûte, mais en même temps, elle coûte sans doute moins si on agit tôt que si on agit tard. Alors, ADAPT, pour concrétiser le sujet, c'est 4 lots. On travaille sur un sujet qui est extrêmement important dans une industrie comme la nôtre, et en particulier dans le nucléaire, c'est la question de la ressource en eau. Je pourrais sans doute répondre à des questions si ça vous intéresse sur le sujet. C'est celui de la robustesse de nos outils industriels, puisqu'on a besoin de garantir leur résilience aujourd'hui, mais surtout demain, et quand je dis demain, c'est pour les prochaines décennies. Et pour terminer, c'est celle du tissu industriel, puisqu'un acteur comme EDF est important, mais il n'est rien sans une grande collaboration de l'ensemble de la filière. Si je vous donne un seul exemple, les électriciens d'EDF qui travaillent dans l'univers nucléaire, c'est 30 000 salariés. Les électriciens et plus largement tous les corps de métier qui travaillent pour la filière nucléaire en France, c'est 200 000 salariés. Donc le tissu industriel pour nous est vital pour nous permettre effectivement que nos outils fonctionnent aujourd'hui et demain. Et le quatrième axe, c'est celui de l'environnement socio-économique dans lequel nous évoluons, puisqu'accessoirement, si on a besoin de salariés directs, salariés d'EDF et de salariés partenaires, il faut bien sûr qu'ils soient dans la centrale à un instant T, mais il faut aussi et surtout qu'ils puissent vivre dans l'environnement de la centrale, s'y déplacer, évoluer et grandir dans leur vie personnelle. Pour terminer cette première question, je voudrais simplement vous dire une chose autour de la résilience des territoires. Et je vous donne un exemple très, très rapide. On est aujourd'hui à l'aube de la construction d'un nouveau programme électronucléaire en France. C'est la volonté du gouvernement. EDF va l'exécuter avec l'ensemble de la filière. On nous propose, à date, de construire 14 nouveaux réacteurs de type EPR2, peu importe l'acronyme, c'est un générateur de nouvelle génération. Et un réacteur nucléaire, les chiffres sont très simples à retenir, c'est 10 milliards d'euros, un réacteur nucléaire. C'est 10 ans de construction et c'est 10 000 salariés. Quand vous injectez ces chiffres sur un territoire donné, vous comprenez que ça ne peut pas être que le sujet de l'industriel. C'est effectivement un sujet qui concerne la résilience de l'ensemble du territoire. L'électricité est un bien vital et donc d'une certaine manière, une centrale nucléaire ou une centrale hydroélectrique et un territoire ont des destins liés. Ce qui nous oblige à raisonner collectivement, hier, aujourd'hui, mais encore plus demain, et d'être en capacité de mobiliser l'ensemble des acteurs sur un territoire.
Thank you so much. It's so important. I mean, again, all of the information you collect, all of the data, it's so helpful to mayors, to companies, to academia, so important. I'm told we have like 4 minutes left, so I'm going to ask if we could... I'm going to ask you if I could, particularly Aurélie. I know that AXA has really been working on nature-based solutions. Could you quickly give us a snapshot of how that all works and what your focus is?
Thank you, Sally. And indeed, nature-based solution is our second fight after climate change, even if we really see the nexus between climate change and biodiversity. So we've worked with an organization called ORA, the Ocean Risk and Resilient Action Alliance, to understand which are the most interesting or beneficial, really rich natural areas in the world to protect against those physical risks of climate change on coastal. So which are the key ecosystems to protect people and economics. And it has been found out that mangroves and coral reef are the ones that are the most important. Mangroves, for instance, protect 15 million people around the world against those flooding risks. So with AXA Climate, again, they have developed a specific insurance. It's a parametric insurance to protect those key assets from cyclone. And again, with climate change, you know that the level of intensity of cyclone is rising very much. The difficulty with nature-based solution is usually, you don't have any owner. Nature is owning by nobody. So the difficulty is really to find a policy holder. So we have some good example with Blue Finance. In Mexico, we have also a good example from a fishing community that was really relying on that mangroves. They bought this specific insurance. With Blue Finance, we have some example in Belize and in Philippines. But we hope that with the COP 15 last year and really this goal to protect 30 by 30 natural areas, it will convince municipalities or local authorities to buy nature-based solution insurance.
Thank you very much. So 1 minute, Tyler, Mr. Mayor. regional approach. We heard about Santa Cruz, you have Monterey. Do you all work together?
Absolutely, and just speaking to the situation that happened in Santa Cruz, I mean, part of their challenge is they have a sea cliff that they can't really build a seawall there, and the waves were crashing over the sea cliff. That's how high the storm surge was, and it's literally eroding part of the city into the ocean. We have the same situation with Big Sur, which is just south of Monterey. And it's not often that we have an environment where you can't drive all the way through Big Sur because there's always landslides happening. So there's absolutely a lot of collaboration. And speaking to that, that's what we need to do, lean in more. A lot of our jurisdictions, particularly on the central coast of California, are smaller. And so it's important for us to work together. And I want to give an example. We have an organization for our wastewater treatment in Monterey called Monterey One Water. We developed a project called Pure Water Monterey, which takes recycled water and stores it in our aquifers. And there's a little bit of a side conversation here to be had about our aquifers because of seawater intrusion. That is affecting our groundwater. So there's a whole other conversation, and for the sake of time, I won't go into that. But why I bring up the Pure Water Monterey project as being such a good example is we've received federal and state funding because of our regional partnership, working in collaboration with the business community. We've received $42 million from these grants to help support this project of $72 million. So we're looking at nearly 60% of the project was helped paid for by other public funding because of these partnerships. So it's these types of things that we need to continue to lean into. I just want to speak quickly to two other things. So housing is another critically important topic just about climate change in general, because a lot of our workforce, low-wage jobs, lives far away from the city, when our city also expands greatly during the day because of our workforce and the tourists coming in. So we need to make sure that we provide housing in our communities. How do we develop that as it adapts to climate change is critically important. And then the last piece is public engagement. It's so important that we engage the community. Us in this room, we are like the science nerds, right? We're really into this, but how do we educate the masses and get them involved? Because I can guarantee you that folks that have a conservative view, a conservative mindset, will continue to push fear-mongering in order to help keep things the same when this is critical. It's happening. And so we can't just take the attitude of, it's already happening and we're just going to let it happen. We need to adapt to it, and we need to figure that out and be proactive. It includes things like social justice. We need it, and then the last point here is that we need to embrace the tension that exists, right? So I spoke of the collaboration between public and private, which is all positive, but we also need to lean into that tension and be honest about our approach and how they might differ, because that honesty will help build trust, which is critically important on very challenging topics like this. So we need to embrace that. We've closed a Cemex plant on the coast of Monterey and closed down that business, and it was the last cement plant in the state of California. So we need to lean into those things. We stopped cruise ships from coming into Monterey, which was an economic driver for our business community. It creates tension, but we need to lean into that. So thank you all so much for having me.
Well, there's clearly a reason you were elected, and you will be reelected and reelected.
I hope so.
So let's remember.
Move to Monterey.
Let's remember, as you said, it's all about the people. Okay, do we have, I just want to say that, Frederick, you've collected so much data. One quick question, one sentence. Is that data available to businesses and academics and people over the years that you have collected?
Alors, c'est une excellente question et qui est, au-delà de son excellence, qui est déterminante. Nous, chez EDF, nous considérons qu'il y a deux axes qui doivent être complètement réussis. Le premier, je l'ai développé tout à l'heure, c'est l'approche systémique et territoriale. Et le deuxième, c'est celui du partage de la connaissance et du renforcement des partenariats entre le monde académique, le monde industriel, le monde territorial et celui de la recherche. Nous avons la chance de disposer effectivement de plusieurs décennies de données sur nos outils industriels. Nous avons la chance d'avoir ce service climatique qui aujourd'hui observe la donnée, développe des outils et des méthodes pour transposer des données qui sont en général macro vers des données locales. Il est important de comprendre localement ce que cela veut dire. Le maire de Biarritz tout à l'heure et celui de Monterrey l'ont parfaitement expliqué. Et à partir de là, il est important de partager des études d'impact pour nous permettre d'anticiper et de trouver des solutions à moindre coût pour effectivement préserver l'avenir. Pour cela, nous, et je termine par ça, on a aujourd'hui une initiative qui consiste en fait à traduire l'évolution climatique au plus près des territoires, expliquer ce qui va se produire et comment ça va se produire. L'enjeu déterminant, c'est pas simplement de rester dans un public d'initiés comme aujourd'hui, où finalement tout le monde a compris le sens de la formule et adhère au raisonnement. L'enjeu, c'est celui d'une transformation sociétale pour permettre et aider les responsables de collectivités à embarquer les citoyens dans cette transformation nécessaire pour se déplacer autrement, se nourrir autrement, construire autrement, ça a été dit par Vinci tout à l'heure, et Laurent en représentant de Vinci, et se déplacer autrement, qui sont des verbes d'action compliqués, parce que provoquant des changements importants dans son quotidien personnel, mais c'est à ce prix ou à cet investissement qu'on réussira effectivement à résoudre notre équation.
Okay, so thank you so much. Do we even have time for any questions?
I'm so
no
sorry
questions.
we're running late.
Okay, so let me just say to everybody, we have a terrific panel. Please ask questions as they are here around the room. But let me just say one last thing. I was in a little boutique yesterday, and I said, do you know what's going on in Monterey? And they said, we read about Monterey Ocean Week. And I explained a little bit about it. And the woman gave me this pin. And it says, plan, 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 plan. All of them crossed out. And then at the end, it says, action. That's Mara Close. Thank you for a great panel.
Thank you so much, Sally. Thank you to all of our wonderful panelists. It's been a very decent and important conversation. We're not done. I'm so sorry. Like all good things, it must come to an end, but not in the next 3 minutes. We've heard a lot about collaborations and partnerships, and none of this today would be possible without the support as well of the Prince Albert II of Monaco Foundation. You have been absolutely incredible, founding members of the Ocean and Climate Platform, supporter from the very beginning of the Citizen Initiative, bringing us all together here in Monaco for Monaco Blue Initiative, Monaco Ocean Week. I mean, you're leading the charge here, so it's my pleasure to call Lina Hansen. You're the initiative coordinator at the Prince Albert II of Monaco Foundations, and you have the final word, so thank you so much.
Thank you, Lorelei. Thank you all. No, this will be very short because we had two terrific panels. I just wanted to congratulate all the organizers for this terrific event. It's so heartening for us as co-organizers of the Monaco Ocean Week to see how an event 2 years ago spurred another terrific event today, and I hope that we will see a new one next year or the near, no pressure, but the year after, whenever. I think we heard a lot. We're pressed on time, so I won't go into any detail, but what we've learned is that sea level rise is not happening in isolation, right? There, as Sally was mentioning, there is so many factors coming together, and also that no solution fits all, let's say. It will have to be local. We will need local data. We will need local capacity, as our friends from Turkey mentioned. So it's really a matter of working together. And I think what you did here today to bring together the business, the representatives of cities is crucial. So that's congratulations again for that. I just wanted to mention that we're very happy at the foundation to support the Climate and Ocean Platform, the cities projects, and all the publications and great work coming out of that, and also the Stimson Center, of course, and your project, for example, in Madagascar with the Corvi tool, which is really critical as well to help create these profiles, risk profiles, I guess, of cities. So with that, I know, and back to the beginning here, we do have a very big rendezvous coming up here next year in Nice, co-hosted by France and Costa Rica, so the UN Ocean Conference. And just before that, Monaco is very pleased to host, in collaboration with France, the Blue Economy Finance and Forum, which is going to take place at the Grimaldo Forum just before 7th and 8th of June. So we hope to see many of you there, and we think that this will be a key gathering to continue this discussion precisely. So bringing together the business people, the philanthropies, looking at insurance, at all that we have mentioned today, risks and planning, so that we can all try to scale up the solutions and for the future. So with that, I will hope that you will all be here for this rendezvous, and thank you so much again to all the organizers for this great session.
But certainly not least, I just want to thank also all of our partners, organizers, our wonderful interpreters, all the logistic team, and most importantly, I just want a big shout out to my wonderful colleague, Lisa de Vignol. She's the true architect behind this. And she's the one with the pressure for the event next year, and the year after that, and the year after that, and the year after that. Thank you. You are now free to go. Thank you very much for following us. Thank you.